All right, let's talk about that moment. You know the one. The dragon takes a deep breath, your DM gets that little smirk, and boom, you're looking at 0 hit points. Character death in D&D, man, it's one of the most intense, heart-pounding moments you can have at the table. It's something every player dreads, and every good DM has a plan for. So today we're going to dive right into what happens when your hero finally falls. See, in most video games, death is just a reset button, right? You just respawn and try again. But in D&D, it's the start of a whole new chapter. And that's really the secret here. Death is almost never a game over screen. It's a plot twist. It becomes the spark for a revenge quest, the whole reason for a new adventure. It's a moment that can totally redefine your entire campaign. So let's get into it and explore how the end of one character's life is so often the beginning of a truly powerful story. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. So your hero has taken a massive blow, and their hit points just dropped to 0. What happens next? Well, you fall unconscious. But this isn't the end. Not yet, anyway. This is where the countdown begins.
This is what's called a death saving throw. It's this super tense turn-by-turn dice roll to see if you can just cling to life. When your turn comes around, you roll a d20. That's it. No bonuses, no fancy modifiers, just you and the dice gods. A 10 or higher, that's a success. A 9 or lower, that's a failure. You need to rack up 3 successes, and you'll stabilize. But if you get 3 failures first, well, that's it. Your character is officially dead. I'm telling you, it's one of the most nail-biting rolls in the whole game.
But you gotta be aware of this one rule, because sometimes you don't even get a chance to make those saving throws. It's called massive damage. Basically, if a single hit drops you to 0, and the leftover damage from that same hit is equal to or more than your maximum HP, you die. Instantly. No saving throws, no nothing. This is especially something to watch out for at lower levels, where a single powerful hit from a monster can mean an instant, unavoidable end to your adventure. Brutal. So let's say it happens. That third failure hits the table. The character is gone. Now what? Well, as the legendary dungeon master Matt Mercer advises, this moment, it shouldn't be glossed over. You don't just say, okay, you're dead. No way. You make it a real moment. This is a powerful part of the group's shared story. You describe it cinematically, let the epic final moments ring out, and you absolutely give the group some time to mourn in-game. It's about turning a dice roll into a real story beat. But hold on. Even if you failed that last save, there's still a glimmer of hope. The clock is ticking, and I mean incredibly fast, but there is one last lifeline. You have exactly 1 minute. In D&D terms, that's 10 rounds of combat. And in that tiny little window, your friends can bring you back with the fastest resurrection spell in the game, Revivify. Now, of course, there's a catch. It requires a diamond worth 300 gold pieces, and that diamond is completely consumed by the spell. Poof, gone. This isn't just a small detail, it's a huge part of the game's economy. Suddenly, that little jewelry shop in town is the most important building on the map. And this is what makes it so clutch. Revivify is the only resurrection spell that's fast enough to be cast right in the middle of a fight. It just takes one action. It's literally designed to be the combat medic's get back in there spell, pulling your friend back from the brink while swords are still swinging.
But for some people, that hefty price is just waived. There's a subclass called the Path of the Zealot Barbarian, and their faith is so ridiculously strong that their revival costs absolutely nothing. No diamonds required. This, as you can imagine, makes them maybe the best character in the game to bring back to life. They can just recklessly charge into anything.
All right, so as our adventurers get more and more powerful, resurrection can become a lot more complex and a lot more meaningful. Let's talk about raising the stakes. Okay, so what's really cool here is how you can see the trade-offs. Revivify is fast, but you only have a minute. Raise Dead gives you 10 whole days to find the body, but it costs more, and it leaves the person with this nasty penalty to all their rolls for a while. Then you have Resurrection, which gives you 100 years to find them, but look at that cost. It's basically showing you that the more time you need, the higher the price you're going to have to pay. But here's a problem a lot of tables run into. As you get to higher levels, gold isn't as scarce, and resurrection can start to feel a little cheap. Not in cost, but in meaning. It becomes what a lot of people call a minor inconvenience. And to fight that, a lot of groups, including famous ones like Critical Role, add their own rules to make death feel meaningful again. So this is the really crucial point here. The standard rules treat it like a magical transaction. You have the spell, you have the diamond, boom, they're back.
But with these house rules, like the ones Matt Mercer uses, it becomes a ritual, a real high-stakes story moment where the whole party's actions actually matter. It's a huge shift.
And this is how it works. It's actually pretty brilliant. It turns Resurrection into a group challenge. Up to 3 party members can contribute with a skill check, but it's not just a roll. They have to role-play their contribution. Maybe they offer a prayer or share a powerful memory. Their successes lower the final number the cleric has to beat, while failures raise it. Then, the DM makes one last final roll. If it fails, the soul is lost for good. So, what happens if that ritual fails? Or if, resurrection just isn't an option at all? What happens to the soul when the light finally fades for good? Well, according to classic D&D lore, the soul goes on a journey. See that 1-minute window? That's when the soul is still lingering right there, near the body. That's your Revivify window. After that, it starts a 10-day trip to a place called the Fugue Plane, which, hey, lines up perfectly with the time limit for Raised Dead. And once it arrives, it has to stand before the god of the dead, Kelemvor, to be judged. At this city of judgment, a soul's final fate is decided. It all comes down to the life you led and the faith you kept. If you worshipped a god, you get sent to their plane, your afterlife. Lived a good life but didn't really have a god? You might end up serving Kelemvor himself. But if you were faithless and lived a life without purpose, well, your fate is pretty much the worst thing imaginable. This is one of D&D's most chilling concepts, for real. Your soul is literally used as mortar in this thing called the Wall of the Faithless. You're just stuck there, dissolving over endless centuries in agony, slowly being eroded into complete nothingness. It's a pretty grim concept, right? Okay, so that's all the big cosmic stuff. But for you and your friends at the table, the death of one character just marks the beginning of another's story. The story must go on. Which brings us to the first, and let's be honest, most practical question that always comes up. What about all their loot, right? What happens to their awesome magic items? And honestly, there is no single right answer here. Every group handles it differently. Some tables are super pragmatic about it. It's party loot now, let's divvy it up. Other groups turn it into a deeply emotional role-playing moment, deciding what to do based on their friendships. Some people even have their characters write a will. It's all up to you.
And this really gets to the heart of it. This quote from a player on Reddit kind of sums it all up. I want to battle like my life depends on it. Otherwise, it feels too safe. And that's it, right? That's why so many players embrace the risk of death, because the stakes are exactly what make victory feel earned.
So ultimately, character death isn't a failure state. It's a tool. It's an opportunity that can create some of the most memorable and engaging moments in the entire game. So I'll leave you with this question to think about for your story. Is death an ending? Or is it an opportunity?